Hi everyone, this is Daniel,
And I'm Jun,
and we are
Korean.
American.
Good morning,
Good morning, June.
Daniel.
June.
Daniel. Okay.
June.
Question.
Yes.
How many Daniels have you met throughout your lifetime?
Daniels.
Daniels.
Daniel's a very popular name.
Mm-hmm.
Probably estimate in the hundreds.
Hundreds?
Yeah.
Like that you actually met, right?
Yeah, that I've met or no. Probably
Mm.
hundreds.
Well, what about
Maybe low
including
hundreds.
what about including your last name?
Oh. So, June, we've never revealed our last name before.
I don't think we have.
Is today the day?
So boring though.
I mean, if you're like Daniel K,
Mm-hmm.
it's literally only two ways you can go. Right?
Two?
Yeah, what do you think?
I mean, like what's the other one other than
I'm asking you.
I would think Kwak,
Oh, okay. Oh, you're right. There's
Ku,
more. Okay.
Kang,
Or
Kim.
Kim. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I was
I was
thinking.
thinking everything else than Kim.
I was thinking Kim or Kang, like
Kang,
Kang.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Kwak and Ku, I know a few. So, but yeah, how many So my last name's Kim. Big surprise there. How many Daniel Kims do I know?
Mm-hmm.
In my life, I've probably met, has to be 20s, in the 20s.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd probably say I can actively rattle off maybe, mid-teens right now, the Daniel Kims I've met and known in my life. Yeah.
Have you ever been in the same class as a Daniel Kim with a Daniel Kim,
In the same class.
or like in the same friend group?
Yes, of course, yeah.
How do you-
With like four of us.
Okay.
My youth group growing up.
Okay. How do you differentiate?
Jun, yeah, this has come up before.
Mm-hmm.
You just have nicknames.
Yeah, oh, I see, I see.
Everyone had their own nickname because Daniel Kim was too common.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Ah, interesting. And I also know as a fact that when we were working together, you talked about there's like this internal group
Yeah.
that had all the Daniels in the company, right?
Yes, yeah. That was literally over 1,000 people big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. FYI, I have never met someone who has the same name as mine, my full name.
Your name's pretty unique, I will say.
Mm-hmm.
Uniquely also difficult to pronounce in Korean.
Yes. But I've never met anyone who has the exact same name.
That's
That'll be
surprising.
weird. Yeah.
That's not common in Korea, right? Most people would at least have known someone or known of someone with their same name, exact same three
especially if
characters.
your last name is Kim.
Kim, yeah.
My last name is Kim too, by the way.
I know. Jun, this is going back to another stereotype, but Americans love to ask, like, hey, like, do you know this other, like, blah, blah, blah Kim? Like, you're both Kims. Are you brothers, cousins? Ha, ha, ha. And I never knew what to answer to that, but, in my mind, Kim is one of the names in Korea. There's so many.
Yeah.
So of course we're not related, right? Yeah. So, but maybe we are.
Maybe we are
Are
somewhat
we in the
related.
same Kim clan?
We'll find out today.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah. Because today's episode is about
Names.
Names,
Oh,
yes.
we were in sync there.
Yeah.
Maybe
And
we
I
should do that every time.
And the reason why and I also want to mention that the idea of talking about names started from someone's topic suggestion in our Discord channel.
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
if you feel like our podcast is worth 25 cents per episode,
Ooh, preloading it.
yes, you could be our patron, and you will get exclusive access to our very interesting Discord channel where you can talk about
Where you
throw
too.
topic ideas,
Yes.
where we would listen very carefully and actually think about recording. Yes. So today's episode is about names.
Specifically, the question in the Discord, June. Maybe I'll just pull it up and read it. And this comes from AZN Groove. Topic proposal, jokpo. At the time of my father's passing, he gave me the family jokpo. I felt and continued to have an immense sense of responsibility, along with uncertainty and foreignness, with the tradition of recording, keeping our family genealogy. Interested to understand a Korean versus Korean American perspective on this. Mm. So the
Yeah.
jokpo specifically was what they were asking. But in general, Jun, personally, there's a really long list of questions I have around names that I'd love to tackle today. So
I also wanted to mention this too. I don't want to get off wrong, but there are very specifically Korean American, topics of Korean culture that Korean Americans are very fascinated about.
Yeah.
And those are most of the time very traditional and outdated in a
see.
Korean perspective.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Those topics would be something like Han, Chong, and then like jokbo. To be clear, these things in modern Korean society, I want to say no one really talks about anymore and no one really cares about anymore. And if you bring this topic up, you would look and sound very oddly conservative, traditional,
North Korean.
outdated, maybe even North
Yeah.
Korean. And at the beginning of our podcast, when you mentioned a lot of these concepts about Korean culture and tradition, I was like, "Ugh," like I don't want to talk about this because it's like too outdated. It doesn't exist in Korean society anymore. But
Yeah.
after recording like episodes like Chong or Han, I think there are a lot of meat that we can get into, even though it is very outdated.
Yeah.
I think it's even more like kind of fresh because it's a thing that no one talks about anymore, almost.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah. So I'm excited about today's episode.
Yeah, June, I also realized this when I first moved to Korea. It didn't take long. Jokpo in particular, I'd say, because it has to do with genealogy, I think immigrants in general are more fascinated with their cultural history, their family history, genealogy, than non-immigrants are. I think that makes sense, right? Where did I come from? Why is my extended family not all around? And so I think that's pretty common. And I suspect not just with Korean Americans living in the U.S., but immigrants of any country. Yeah.
But before going into what a jokbo is, I wanted to talk about like, just names in general.
Yes,
Korea.
let's find out, June, if we're actually related.
Okay. So I want to start talking about the very basics. In Korean, of course, I don't want to say of course, our full names consist of your first name and your last name. But
Okay.
even saying first and last is kind of awkward in Korean because your last name comes first when you read it out.
Yeah.
And then your first name comes after that.
Yeah.
So it's like your last name, first name as your full name.
Yeah.
And usually your first name is 2 syllables and your last name is 1. But it's not like a rule. There are certain last names that have 2 syllables.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, you didn't know that?
No, it's an example.
Famous ones are like 제갈 or like
Wow, okay.
남공, 사공, 황보.
Yeah.
So there are certain, it's very rare, by
Okay.
the way, certain last names that have 2 syllables. So, anyways.
And also, June, I want to say, I think it's in trend for people to just have a one character first name. I heard that's in trend for a while.
Yes. So it's not a rule that your first name should be 2 syllables. But anyways, I think the majority or default would be a 1 syllable last name and 2 syllable first name, which makes your name 3 Korean characters or 3 syllables in English, I think, right? And most of the time, your names have Chinese characters associated with them.
Yeah.
So you can write it either in Korean or in Chinese.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool.
And sometimes, as you said, some people have 1 syllable first names. Some people have a long first name too.
Sometimes,
Oh, really?
More than 2 syllables? 2 characters?
Let's
just call them characters. It feels weird calling a syllable in my mind.
Okay, I'll call it characters. Okay. Anyways, so some people have a longer first name where it's definitely longer than 2 characters. I personally know a person who has 4 characters in their first name.
Really?
Yeah.
And it's not like a Hangulization of a foreigner name? their parents gave them a 4-character Korean name.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not like mine, like Daniel.
No, it's like four Korean characters
Wow. Okay. I've
in like
never heard of
Korean
that.
meaning. Yeah. His name was 슬기로운. Something 슬기로운. Anyways, but it's also very interesting to mention that because most people have 3-character full names,
Yeah.
sometimes like if you go to government agencies or if you try to register for an app or a website, it wouldn't intake more than 3 characters
Dude,
sometimes.
sometimes. This is like the bane of my existence.
Really? So they just like randomly cut you off. That's
yeah.
like some character,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's a thing.
Or even if it's not stopping you online, like, all these government forums, the space for your name only fits like 3 characters wide. So it's so
Exactly.
annoying trying to fit
Yeah.
in a Western name. Yeah. So
But that just shows you how the majority of people only have 2-character first names and 1-character last name.
yeah.
Speaking of last names, how many last names do you think exists in Korea right now?
I mean, I'm sure there's a long tail, but I'm gonna throw out 30.
30? Interesting. So there are 286
What?
last
Really?
names in Korea at the moment, I think.
But do you have the breakdown of like Kim Park Lee, right? Those.
Yeah.
Oh no, Chang. Wait. Let me try to guess this.
Well, I'll give you. Yeah, I'm
The
gonna.
top 3.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask you this question
Okay,
anyways.
okay.
But so, I mean, obviously there are like major names, major last names.
Yeah.
And I think there's like 5, and then just a very long
Yeah,
tail,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I'll throw you a pop quiz.
Okay.
What do you think is the percentage of Kims in the entire population?
That's gonna be tough. Since there are, like you said, the big 5, I'll just start with 20%.
Yes. It's actually over 20.
Oh,
It's
okay,
21.5%
Okay,
are
okay.
Kims. So any 5 people, or like one in any 5 people
Yeah.
you randomly meet in Korea would be a Kim.
But Kim is the 3rd most popular, I think, right?
3rd most popular?
Is it?
What do you mean?
It's the number 1 most popular last name?
Kim?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Of course. Oh, for some reason I thought it was number 3. Okay.
No, it's
It's number 1.
yeah,
Okay,
it's
okay.
yeah, it's 21.5% are
Okay.
Kims. That's number 1. And what do you think is the second?
Park? Chang.
No, you're
Lee.
Lee.
Okay.
Lee is following second in 14.7%.
Oh, it's a big drop off.
Yeah.
Yo, Kim number 1.
Yes. And then the third is Park,
Okay.
which is
Oh,
8.4%.
huge drop off. Okay.
And then combined with Choi and Chung, which are 4th and 5th place,
Uh-huh.
altogether Kim, Lee, Park, Choi, Chung.
Chen Jung.
Yeah,
Where's Chang?
there's no Chang, at least within the top 5.
Really?
Yeah.
I-
It's
yeah.
okay. Combining the top 5 last names,
Yeah.
it makes up a whopping 53.7% of the entire population.
Wow. See, I thought it would have been higher, June.
And the Kim in population count
Yeah.
is over 10 million.
Wow. Of course. Wait, but June,
yeah.
where is Chang on that list? Is it number 6?
Let me research.
I don't know if it's just my sample size growing up, June. But I think this could be an interesting case study, like the last name breakdown of Korean Americans, also by like year they immigrated, because I suspect there was a higher percentage of Changs that immigrated in, let's say, the 70s and 80s relative to the overall population in Korea.
Okay. To my surprise, Chang is not even on the 6th. It's actually 9th.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, how about Cho? Did you say Cho already?
Cho is on the 7th.
Wow.
So Chang is only less than 2%.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I feel like
So
Cho and Chang in my mind, maybe it's just my circles, but growing up, these were right up there with Kim Park Lee. Yeah. And then the number 4 and 5 you mentioned, what was it?
Is Choi and Chung.
Those are just not on my radar. Yeah.
I have a gripe with Choi and the way that they spell it and the way that
Oh, is this
you
Choi?
pronounce it in English. Yeah,
Oh,
they call
it's
it Choi.
Yeah.
But it's like so completely different from how Korean people pronounce it.
Yeah.
I don't know why they decided to write it as CHOI.
I take it back.
It sounds more like CHWE
Or
in my mind.
CHAE, as I think is another popular Anglicization of it.
But CHAE is a different last name.
Oh,
it's
it
a
is?
Che, yeah. There's a Che and
I
there's
see.
a Chue.
Oh, I see.
So I would write Chue if I were a Chue person. I would write it as CHWE.
I think any American looking at that name would think they're from Africa. Not making fun of it. It just looks like an African name.
I this is the reason that I don't like my last name
Uh-huh.
because even just by looking at my name,
You know you're Korean.
yeah,
Yeah, you can't.
I like those last names in Koreans where you can't even guess where they're from.
Really just Lee.
Lee, okay, it could be either Chinese or Jewish, right?
No, Lee is anything. Yeah,
Lee
black,
is anything.
white. Mhm.
Okay, cool. So it's like Kim, Lee, Pak, Choi, Jung, and then Kang,
Mm,
Jo, which is Cho,
okay.
and then Yoon, which is the last name of our current president,
Yeah.
and then Chang.
Ah.
Yeah,
How about what's number 10 just to round out the top 10?
it's Lim. Im.
Lim. Oh, Lim. I knew some Lims too.
Yeah, my mom's a Lim.
But, oh, wait. Did you bring up O?
O
Oh.
is 12th.
Oh, my
after Han.
My
Yeah.
mom's an O.
Your mom's an O.
Yeah. Oh, there are more than I was thinking. But, Jun, I just have to take back the earlier statement.
Mm-hmm.
Choi is a very popular,
Yeah.
Korean American Korean last
Korean
name in
American last
America.
name. Yes. Anyways, that was our overview of what a name looks like in Korean.
Jun, I think it's funny that if you take any three of those
Mm-hmm.
and concatenate them, there's probably a Korean law office with that name.
Yes. I mean, the fact is that one of the largest law offices in Korea is called Kim and Jang. It's like Kim and then Chang. It's like
Yeah.
1th and 9th.
In some other world, we could have named this the Kim and Kim podcast.
Oh, Kim.
June, another reason why Kim in America is kind of bad is because Kim, also could be a first name, but it's also
Oh.
typically given to women. So, I got made fun of a lot, like Daniel Kimberly or whatever. Yeah,
Really?
yeah, not a lot, but
But there are so
happens.
many Kims though.
Not
No?
that many.
Really? Maybe this is my negligence.
No, I mean, if the
towards-
Korean American population is like, I think, let's say 2 to 3 million,
Mhm.
and it is reflective of, let's say, that 20% of them, then that's what, like 400 to 500,000. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, there are a lot of them. You're right.
Anyways, so there are over 10 million Kims, but are they all the same Kims?
Are you asking me?
Yes.
June, I know at least this because my Kim clan is very famous and a bit unique. But yes, there is this concept of like kimchi, right? I don't know if it's sangshyeot or not.
It's a sangshyeot.
Okay, so kimchi, like what clan or subdivision of Kims are you? And maybe you could educate me on this, but I know that every last name has also associated clans, like where that branch of the Kim overall family originated from, right?
So sometimes people have the same sounding last name, but their Chinese characters are different. And in which case, you would just completely think of it as a different last name. But if you have the same Chinese character, you have the same last name, but then you can be divided into certain clans. You already mentioned clans, right? Clans in Korean is called a 본관. And your clan name is always associated to a certain area in Korea.
Yes.
So you are
geographic area.
Yeah, geographical area. You are something Kim, where something is most of the time a city.
City name.
Yeah. So it means that your clan, like geographic origination is from that town or city.
Yes.
Right? So for instance,
Wait. Let's see if we're related, June.
Okay.
Do you want to say our clan name on the count of 3?
Okay.
1, 2,
2,
3.
3.
Jeonju.
Kimhae.
Oh, so we're not.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're different Kims, and Kimhae, Kimshi is the most popular Kim clan. Kimhae, Kimshi alone consists of 10% of the entire population of Korea.
So 50% of Kims,
Yes.
let's say, are from Kimhae.
Exactly.
Okay.
As a fact, within Kim itself, it has more than 1,000 clans.
Clans, okay.
And Kimhae, so Kimhae is now, of course, a city. It's near Busan.
It vaguely sounds familiar, yeah.
Yeah, because it has an airport, Kimhae Airport.
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
So it has like 4.5 million in population. And because there's so many Kimhaegims, in Kimhaegim, there's a sub-clan division.
Okay,
And we
okay.
call it Pa. So I am Kimhaegim 씨 삼연파.
삼연파?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then it always ends up being like 몇 대 손, meaning like what's your generation.
Yes, yeah.
So this whole concept of like your genealogy and your clan and what generation you are
Yeah.
is the entire content of what we call a jokbo.
Oh, okay.
So jokbo, I think, is a document that lists all of this together.
Yeah.
So it's in my 김해 김씨 삼연파 족보.
Yeah.
I would have my name. I don't want to say which generation I am.
Okay, too identifiable.
But everyone's name is listed there. So it's like
So you're in the 김해 김씨
삼연파.
삼연파 족po.
Yes.
You're in there.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. You said you're 전주 김씨.
Wait, but Jun, before we go on,
Mm-hmm.
can you not understand why this is romanticized by Korean Americans?
No.
It's so cool.
It's cool. Okay, interesting.
You're basically like Jun Kim, like 34th in the generation from this clan of this region. I mean, it's so neat.
Is it because it sounds like you're in a royal family?
Not only that, but the fact that you can trace your lineage that far, it's kind of neat. I don't know how common that is around the world, but that seems pretty cool. Yeah.
And also, maybe this might be an interesting point for Korean Americans. It's not only your last name, but your first name has to do something with your jokbo too.
Generation, yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about?
let's get into that later though.
Okay.
But so my Kim clan is the Jeonju Kimshi, which I don't know. My parents, my grandfather in particular, is very proud that he was in the Jeonju Kims. And then, June, even recently, I was visiting my parents last weekend, and it came up again. My dad was talking about the Jeonju Kims, like how they originated, because Jeonju's somewhere in the south, I believe. But then actually they had to flee to North Korea, very close to the Chinese border, and that's where they settled. But actually the Jeonju Kimshi Jokpo or whatever is physically in Jeonju still. But anyway, and my dad was like, yeah, it would be nice one day to go visit there again, because I think he's gone before. But June, even I was saying my grandfather was very proud to be in the clan, even to the point of on his funeral, on his tombstone, it lists out like Jeonju Kimshi. I showed it to you one time. So yeah,
I think it's a common practice. Like in your tombstone, you have like your 본관 with your first name.
But yeah, so he was very proud of it, I think, and I think it's one of the more unique Kim clans.
Yes.
I don't know how many people there are, but June, very famously, it's the same Kim clan as the infamous leaders up north.
Yes. That's
what was the first one? Kim Il-sung,
Kim Il-sung,
Kim Jong-il,
Kim Jong-il,
and now Kim Jong-un.
Yeah.
We're all the same Kim clan. So
yeah.
I may not be related to you, but I'm somehow related to them.
They say that Kim Jong-un is the 34th generation of the Jeonju Kimshi.
Oh wow, okay. Yeah.
But I don't think they announce it that way in the north. They made of course they made like their own thing.
Sure, yeah.
But technically they are Jeonju Kimshi.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, going back to the name thing. Now, if you know your 본관, which is your clan, and I mentioned that your first name has to do something with your generation, right?
Yeah.
Because there's always like a character per generation that you are highly recommended to incorporate in your name. Is your Korean name following that?
Yes.
Okay, so you are probably a 30th generation.
Wow. But it's not the character you might be thinking of.
Oh, it's not?
It's the
So, if we follow the you're 27th.
Oh.
So you're like a great grandfather of Kim Jong-un. But then your children don't follow that name rule.
They do.
They do? Then maybe
We didn't follow it right.
I don't know. Maybe I don't have the interesting.
I feel like my dad's side is very proper. So
Anyways, sometimes these characters also are it's related to it goes back to our shamanism episode, like the 5 elements of like earth, fire, wood, steel,
yeah.
and then water.
Saju, yeah.
Yeah, this is oheng,
Oheng. Oh, okay.
the 5 elements. So most of the times it has a certain element character inside your Chinese character. And it's like kind of cyclical almost. It's like almost like fire and then water, whatever, and then it goes around and around. Anyways, in my research of Jeonju Kim's, it's not very well documented.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it's all in the north.
Oh, maybe.
No, I don't know.
So, like, according to different sources, they're all naming different hangyars. Like, hangyar is the name that you use per generation.
Yeah.
But I couldn't find the exact thing. Obviously,
Wait,
the Kim...
do Jeonju Kims also have the sub-delineation that you were talking about?
I don't think they do
Okay, it's
because
not
they're
big
so
enough.
little. Yeah. I think because Kims are like one of the biggest clans.
Yeah.
They're very well documented. But I think, I don't know, it was all very different.
Do you think I'm in my family jokpo?
Yeah, you probably are.
I'm not.
You're not? How do you know? How do you know
Maybe
that
I
you're-
am, but my dad almost proudly said that he never put my brother or I in the family registry formally. Yeah, because we were both born in the U.S. And maybe, who knows, right? Maybe he was trying to keep us from military conscription down the road, or he just thought we'd never be interested in knowing, or why would he? In a sense, I think. But for me, it's sad. Like, I wish I was in that list. It'd be kind of cool, right? But yeah, my dad is. I don't know how unique he is in this, but he has a very. I mentioned these things before, where he doesn't want us to do anything Korean because it's almost like embarrassing for him that we're trying because we're not going to do it right.
I see.
So whether it was like pebek at our wedding or anything related to, I think, old traditional Korean culture and heritage and legacy, he's like, why are you doing that? You guys aren't Korean, right? So I think it's interesting because so many Korean Americans I meet, their families are kind of the opposite. Their parents try so hard to maintain that Korean culture and heritage, tell them they're Korean, tell them about their history, etc.
Yeah.
My dad especially was the opposite. He was like, well, you guys aren't Korean, so why try? Yeah.
Maybe it's because he value it so much that
Exactly. He doesn't want to
Yeah.
water it down or have us do kind of this, what is it? Appropriating the Korean culture almost.
I see.
Yeah.
Anyways, so hangyal, the name that you use for your generation is, I mean, obviously used within your siblings. So that makes this concept called a 돌림자, right? Like where your siblings all follow a certain character in your name.
Yeah.
So that they all like sort of match.
Yeah.
Right. Sometimes people don't even follow the jokbo hangyal, but they just do the 돌림자. Like I kind of want to call it like name rhyming.
Yeah. That's good.
In a way, yeah. So I know that your kids follow the
They
돌림자,
do,
right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
me and my brother follow it too.
Uh-huh.
So that's also a unique aspect of names in Korea.
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
really cool. Is there ever a Kim like whatever reunion? Do they do that?
That's like 10% of the population.
I know. But within your sub thing, it's only...
I feel like Kim's, because there's so many of them, probably don't really follow that. And maybe you guys, like Jeonju Kim's, maybe they do. But
That'd
yeah.
be so cool. I don't know.
Yeah.
One other thing before we move on from this. I remember in college finding out like Ko and Go and all those. Like apparently there's only one clan of the Ko's. So if you ever meet like a Ko or Go in America or Korea, they're all related.
Oh, really?
Well, right, there's only one of that clan, so yeah.
This is a side note,
Yeah.
but I know that certain last names of Yuns
Yeah.
don't eat a certain type of fish.
No,
Isn't this
really?
fascinating? It's because in like their last name legend,
Yeah.
there's once like this type of fish helped them save their lives or
It's
something.
so cool.
So they don't eat a
Yeah,
certain
they
type
have
of
too
fish.
much respect for that fish.
Yeah.
So cool.
It's like a papyeongyunshi, and they don't eat this type of fish. It's called a 잉어. Anyways, going back to jokbo, a lot of Korean people think that jokbos are kind of BS also. It's because historically, a lot of Korean people didn't even have last names.
Yeah.
Unless they're like a royal family. And so most of Korean people back in the days, and when I say back in the days, it's like hundreds of years ago,
Yeah.
didn't even have a last name. But in late Joseon dynasty, they created a law where everyone has to have a last name.
Yeah.
So a lot of people just like didn't even have last names. They
Just
just bought, they say like
took
they
one.
bought the jokbo with money
I see.
to get into a more prestigious jokbo.
Got it.
So if you go back, like technically, if you go back in history, you might not even be a part of that clan,
Yeah.
but you have that last name.
Got it.
So it's all like the meaning is all diluted. So some Korean people think it's all bull.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's like one aspect of how Korean people view of what jokbo is.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have another question related to this. June, another meme in Korean American circles is how our parents always talk about, oh, like your great uncle, grandfather, whatever, was always like, oh, an admiral or general in the
Yeah.
Korean army.
Yeah.
So are these names somehow, or these clans somehow tied to that?
I think
Or
so.
is that true in Korean families too? Like, do your parents always talk about your great blah 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 was a very famous like admiral or very famous
Yeah,
general?
they say that. And I think it's related to the fact that people bought the jokbos, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
if combining the fact that most of the people who actually had last names were in the royal family,
Yes.
of course there were in some high position
Yeah.
in the government or like in the military, right? So if you actually bought the jokbo and you force yourself into that jokbo,
Yeah.
if you go up the ladder, of course there's like a general or admiral, yeah.
Or if you aren't bought in, let's say you actually are in that line, but it generally ladders up to some famous, influential political figure.
Yes.
Back in the day. I see.
Yeah.
Maybe you could also just very quickly share your thoughts on why they are so few Korean last names, or why they're so densely clustered, right? So how did Kim's even start or whatever?
If you go back to the origin of how certain last names started, it all becomes very mythy, if you will.
Oh.
It doesn't. So my last name, they say it goes back to the Shilla era,
Yeah.
which is like hundreds and thousands of years ago, and like that, like it's the history isn't really well documented at that.
But isn't it there the jokpo that shows you the dark line of
Maybe,
son of this, son of this, son of this, all the way up?
yeah, but who knows how much of that is true?
Okay.
I don't know. It says in Kimshi started from this king called the Kimsuro Wang, Kimsuro King.
Yeah.
He might have started Shilla. I'm not sure about this one.
Okay.
But anyways, he's a king.
Sorry, I have so many questions.
Yeah.
And is the jokpo like, our Patreon who asked about this, he has the physical book, right?
Yeah.
In my mind, how does this work? Because, like, who carries that forward? And how can the physical book now be in America? Shouldn't it be in some place in Korea, maybe?
If they have a physical book, like the physicality of that doesn't really, it's not very significant.
Oh.
It's just documented somewhere like as a digital form, but you can just like print it out.
Okay.
Yeah, so like the thing, you would imagine it being like this very old, like, book.
Yeah,
like physical
yeah.
book, but
Almost like an original version of the Bible or something, right? Just like very carefully.
But it isn't. I think when I was little, my grandmother had a physical copy of the Kim jokbo. It was just like very new.
I see.
Yeah.
So it's just like a printout or copy.
Yeah, it does.
But it's stored somewhere centrally and like now digitally.
Yeah,
I
I
see.
don't think it's very significant that it's a physical thing.
Okay. But I also heard, June, there is a digital jokpo, like you said. I can go online and look it up.
Yes.
Is that true?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I tried at one point.
I tried it too for your
Oh, you did?
plan.
Yeah.
I maybe for some reason I couldn't find it.
Okay, okay.
Anyways. Okay. Do you have any other questions?
A lot, Jun.
Okay.
Getting back to the Chinese characters, I'm sure you know the last name for Kim is Jing, which in Chinese means gold or gum, right? Or at least mine is.
Gold
Yeah.
or steel. Yeah.
Gold or steel.
Yeah.
Or it's just metal in general.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when I found out one of my best friends in life, it's this Chinese guy, his last name is Jin, but it turns out we have the exact same last Chinese character. So it's like, oh, we're like related somehow, right? Because there was a Jing, I'm a Kim. But this may seem so elementary to you, but to 20-year-old me in the US, my mind was blown. It's like, oh my God, like my Korean last name has a Chinese character that actually matches some other, that matches a popular last name in China too. And so like there's like this tie there, right? And for me, it was just a cool realization. And so just wanted to bring that up.
I think if you have matching last names, I think it means one or the other. One being maybe your last name, like ancestors, actually originated from China, or I think this methodology of using a Chinese character for your last name stemmed from back in the days where like Korea tried to mimic what the Chinese people are doing. So they like just took a lot of their characters and used it as their last names. Yeah. So it's either you actually originated from China or it's because they mimicked it. Yeah.
But all Kims in Korea, do they have that character that looks like a house kind of, and it means gold?
Yeah, I have never seen a Kim that doesn't
Wasn't
use
like
that Chinese character.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I think that's it for now. We can move on.
Okay.
But maybe we should. Okay, let's just close the loop though. So for our listener who wrote in with the question, how would you respond to them? Like they feel this pressure. Again, let me pull it up again. He feels this immense sense of responsibility and uncertainty about keeping the family genealogy in the jokpo. So how would you respond to them? I think there's one aspect around the physical book. I think maybe we've established don't put too much weight into that. It's just maybe a copy, and it probably has a lot of meaning in your family. But don't worry, there's like another. You're not carrying the entire genealogy with you. It's recorded centrally somewhere else.
Yeah.
So don't worry about that. Would you say that's accurate?
Yes.
Okay.
And also, unless we don't know this person's last name, where like this last name is so unique and rare, in that there is some pressure that you have to carry on. Unless it's that case, I just want to say like don't feel so much pressure because no one in Korea actually cares about it anymore.
So I think that's the second aspect of this. So aside from the physical copy, like is this a one-of-one document, etc., I think the question is, okay, how do Koreans think about family genealogy moving forward, recording your name in the jokpo? Like you said, you're in your family's jokpo. Would you put your kids in it, etc.? Like how should they think about that tradition almost of preserving the genealogy and history of the family? Yeah.
Again, it's because my last name is such a common name that maybe I feel less pressure to document it. And I might feel it's different if I only have like, there are only hundreds of people in my last name clan, then maybe I might feel more pressure to do so. But I think like the general sentiment of how Korean people think about genealogy and jokbo and all that is very diluted and they don't care about it as much anymore.
I see.
I mean, if I had kids, I would try to put them in, but it would be last thing in my mind.
I see.
I would maybe do it when they're like 10 years old.
I see.
I was like, oh, maybe I should just do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the answer to the listener. I think you do you, right?
Yeah.
Whatever it means to you and your family, I think that's enough. You can honor and respect that. But don't feel some major burden around, okay, like there's this whole thing in Korea that's counting on you to really preserve this and document it. Don't worry. Do whatever makes sense and feels right for you.
Yeah, that's what
That's
I feel.
accurate?
Yes.
And you'd say this is reflective of Korea's general population's opinion on this?
At least in my generation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the generation below me.
When do you feel that changed? Because obviously this thing means a lot to this listener's older generation, right? That they carried this out. So at some point in Korea, it flipped from our parents' generation to our generation.
Probably
So
goes hand in hand with the diminishing of like Chung and Han and all
it just
that.
all flipped around that time.
Yeah, about like, people not really caring about tradition and things being very utilitarian.
Yeah.
Because like jokpo genealogy has like zero utilitarian value, I guess.
Well, let me bring that up. It used to be, I believe, that you couldn't marry within your same last name clan. Is that true?
Yes, that's like one of the most silliest things ever.
Is it though?
Yeah, it's called 동성 동본 금혼.
So talk about that. Yeah.
If you were in the same clan and the same last name, you couldn't marry that person.
And this was a law in Korea, I believe.
This was a law in Korea, and it went away in 2005, so it's very recent.
Yeah.
But it was a very silly thing.
Yeah. Just because it's too generalizing, like, of course, inbreeding is not healthy, right, for the gene pool. But you just
But
think
if
the
you're
odds
only
of...
but if you're only following your father's last name, right? Your genes are already very diluted at that point, right? So, like, let's say for Kim's, you
Yeah.
said I told you that it consists of 10% of the population.
It would eliminate a huge
And if I were to marry before 2005,
Yeah.
I couldn't marry like a Kim with the same clan,
Yeah,
which is kind of silly.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. But Jun, you bring up a point, which is another thing I wanted to raise earlier. I believe it's only male names that are recorded in the jokpo.
That is the tradition. But I feel like, I think starting from somewhere around my generation, they started listing female names too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So that's...
I think
that's neat.
traditionally, yes, you only document male names. Yeah.
Ah, okay. I didn't know that was actually a law that was repealed in 2005. A lot of changes in 2005. That's when Saturday school ended too, right?
Is that?
I believe so.
Oh, how do you know this?
I remember looking it up and being like, if kids in 2005 went to school on Saturday.
Really? Interesting. I did when I was growing up. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it
definitely.
ended in...
Yeah.
Okay, maybe don't quote me on that. But, yeah, June, I don't want to go into this now because there's so much more we have to talk about names.
Yes.
But, yeah, should I say my theory now? I'll just preview it. I have a theory about what exactly triggered the loss of Jung, the rise in this utilitarian, everyone keep to themselves mentality, and like who cares about tradition and legacy and things like that. So, yeah.
What is it?
I'm not going to share.
What?
We'll talk about it in a future episode.
Okay.
Yeah. Moving on. Yeah, there's a lot more with names we wanted to
Such
cover.
a teaser. The next thing that I wanted to talk about in terms of names were the trends in names.
Yes, please.
By generation.
Yeah.
By generation, but also by gender.
Ah, okay.
So another quiz to you.
Yes. Are you going to name names and I'm going to tell you gender?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, how did you know?
Well, this is fun, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to name 5 names.
Okay.
And one of them has a... Okay,
What?
no. I'm going to name names,
Okay.
and you tell me whether this person is a male or female. And I only chose very obvious names.
Okay, so they're
that
all obvious.
Korean people
Okay.
it's like, wouldn't even think about it.
Give it to me.
Number 1 is Youngho.
Guy, 100%.
Correct.
So strong.
Oh, strong in the way that it's pronounced?
Yeah, it sounds like a guy's name.
Interesting. Next is Eunjung.
Girl.
Correct.
Wait, but let's go back. Okay, sorry, keep going.
Jihun.
Ooh, this one's easy. Guy.
Why is it easy?
I have a relative with that name. But I will say, honestly, at first I thought it was girl. If I didn't have a guy cousin with that name.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Minji.
Girl.
Jihae.
Girl.
Oh, 5 out of 5.
Yeah, but let's go back and actually, can I give you my reasons why and you tell me if it's right or wrong? Young Ho. I feel that's the Ho. Ho is a guy.
Yes.
Okay. And then what was the second one?
Eunjung.
Is the
I think this one's tricky because none of the characters have like a very strong gender thing.
But together it's always a girl's name.
Yeah.
But I was gonna say the un more than the jung. Yeah.
Could be.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. Jihun, the
The hun, because I know G whatever it
yeah.
can be girls. So
I
the
think
hun
Hun
is
is
a
always used in a
guy's
guy's
name.
Yeah. Minji,
That is both together. Maybe both are girls' names, but Min.
I think it's kind of like similar to Eunjung, where like it doesn't have a very like each character doesn't have a very strong gender thing, but together it's always a girl's name.
But like Min Ho would always be a guy because the Ho.
Yes.
So it's the G here, I think. Min Ji. Is there a
But
blank G?
but Jihun is also a guy, right?
But G's in the beginning, right?
I think Ji is kind of neutral, right?
But
Gender.
Minji always is going to be a girl.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jihae.
Yeah, I
The
mean, that
hae I think is
is the giveaway.
very feminine.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Okay, anyway,
Okay.
you gave very obvious ones, so maybe I'm not surprised. But I promise you, 3 years ago when I first moved here, I would have probably failed that.
Oh, interesting.
But the other funny thing is, yeah, these are very common names overall too, not just very gender aligned. I know like a Jian, a Minji.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So you passed round 1.
Yes. Oh no, there's more.
Round 2 is the generational name trend. So
Oh.
within the 5 people's names that I'm going to list,
Okay.
one person is from a different generation.
Okay.
Either
One
older
is not like the others.
or very younger.
Okay, let's go.
은주, 혜진, 지현, 영숙, 수진.
Yeah, this is where I have no chance. Say them one more time and I'll just guess one.
은주, they're all female, by the way.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know that either. Okay.
은주, 혜진, 지현, 영숙, 수진.
I mean, you really pronounce the Young Suk, so I'm gonna go with Young Suk.
Yes, correct.
But you gave it away the way you said it. But I would not have known that. Yeah, to be honest.
So that Suk is it's a older female name,
okay.
if you will, and all the rest is more of like my
Modern.
generation, 30 to 40, and Yongsuk would be, I want to say, late 50s to 70s.
So older, one
Yeah.
generation older.
Yeah. And I think a lot of the times back then, both male and female names had a lot of like gender roles and expectations of what that gender should be infused in their name. So I think Suk is a very like calm, well-behaved, and good-natured
Okay,
kind of.
okay, yeah.
And like the common names of this generation would be something like Sunja or Misuk or something like that. So it's always like soft or pure or like beautiful and mature.
I
Kind
see.
Of. Yeah.
June, you know this about my kids, but so I had my parents name all 4 of our kids.
Yeah.
And every time we tell our kids names to
Yeah.
Koreans, they're like, I can tell, they're being polite, but they're like, really? That's your kid's name?
Yeah.
Because they're all very old sounding names. It's not befitting of this generation.
Yeah.
It's not only one, it's 2 generations older
Yeah, I
than
feel
what
like-
it should be,
feel
which
like
is my
it's
parents' generation.
Late 40s to late, like almost 60s.
Yeah, exactly. Which again is what my parents grew up in, and so I don't think have followed or even would adhere to if they lived in Korea. These generational shifts in names. But yeah, every Korean's response, 100%, is like, wow, they have really old sounding names. And again, this is one area where I still have zero intuition around it. Like English names, it's like Dorothy, right? I mean, they are making a comeback, but Genevieve, there are definitely names that you hear in America that are like, oh, that would sound like from the 20s, right?
I have that data.
Oh, thank you, June.
Yeah.
And I have that intuition in English, but in Korean, I have none of it. Yeah.
So let's talk about. So speaking of your children's names,
Okay.
I researched what the most popular names of children that are born in 2023,
Oh, I would love. This is fun. Yeah.
and the top 6 are.
Okay. Are you going to go by gender?
I don't know what the gender is. They don't
Oh.
list by gender. They just know the like the name that's registered. And I actually got this from a government like statistical
Okay.
data.
But sorry, it's also interesting that you're saying the names you're about to say aren't really gendered to you.
Oh, there is a gender filter.
Oh, okay.
Should I go by?
Well, I'm curious for you, Jun. Can you tell immediately from hearing a modern Korean name? Is it obvious the gender?
That's the thing that I also wanted to talk about. One of the trends these days is that it sounds very gender neutral,
right?
So
Yeah,
I
I was
wouldn't
gonna say.
know just by looking at their names. It
Okay.
could either be male or female.
Yeah. Let's do top 6 not gendered then. Yeah.
Okay, not
Across
gendered.
both genders, yeah.
Top 6 is in 2023. Number 1 is 서아.
Really? That's number 1?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait. Yeah, 서아. And then 이준,
Ijun, wow.
이서,
Iseo,
도윤,
Doyun,
은우,
Eunwoo,
하준.
Hajun.
Yeah, these are the top 6.
Interesting.
And
Yeah, they all sound pretty similar to me. Very soft, no harsh characters.
yeah, so I think
Definitely no suks. Yeah.
I think I think the current trend is that it sounds very soft and then gender neutral. And also I feel like back in the days the way that it sounded had lesser meaning and more of like what the
The
Chinese
meaning,
character
right?
means.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
Whereas like these days I think the trend is more of like what it sounds like. So it sounds very soft. And also I think one of the trends is that they want their children's names to be both pronounced easily in Korean and in English.
right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. I heard
Sometimes
that
they
too.
also get it from actual English names.
And transliterate it back into Hangul, right?
Yeah, like they would name their kids' names as like Sera, which could be Sarah.
Ah, wait, is one of the what was one of the 6 you named Sarah?
No, it's not.
Okay.
But like this also is a thing that
Yeah,
people
yeah,
do these
yeah.
days. Like I know a person whose Korean name is Jaesun
For Jason.
for Jason. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I also went to research the more older generations most
common
popular names.
Yeah.
And
Wait, let's do my birth year. Or your birth year?
it's just by decades. But in the 1980s,
Okay, let's do 80s. Yes, perfect.
for male,
Yeah.
number 1 is Jihoon. Followed by Jonghoon,
Okay.
Sungmin,
Okay.
Sunghoon,
Uh-huh.
Junho.
Yeah.
It all
these are-
sounds like my
they
friends'
all
names.
Sounds like my friend's name.
And then for female, it's number 1 is Jihae,
Yes.
which I had in one of my quizzes.
Yeah.
And then Jiyoung, Haejin, Eunjung,
Yeah.
Sujin.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
But let's go to the 1940s.
Okay, let's do it. I'm curious if
or
I'll
19
notice a difference.
Your parents from 1940?
40.
40?
Yeah.
Okay. 40 to 50, my parents' generation. Number 1 is Youngsu.
Wait, sorry. Your parents are 50 to 60 though, I thought.
50, my parents is mid 50s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah.
Youngsu, Youngho, Youngshik,
Okay.
Younggil,
Younggil. Okay.
Jungung.
Jung-woo?
Ung.
Ung.
Yeah. Ung is like a very masculine sounding name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's kind of hard to pronounce, right?
Ung,
What? It's like something ung. I don't know.
Jungung.
Jung-ung.
Not that difficult for Korean.
Okay.
Yeah. For female
Yeah.
is number 1 is Youngja,
Youngja. Okay.
and then Jeongja,
Jeongja.
Sunja,
Sunja.
Chunja,
Okay.
and then Jeongsun.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is 100% true, but I think the cha in the female name is coming from, because 1940s, it's still in the Japanese era, right?
Yeah.
It comes from like the Japanese naming convention
Oh,
of female. Because like
that's crazy. Yeah.
in Japanese, it's the ko.
uh-huh.
So
I don't know what go is, but
you would hear a lot of like old Japanese ladies names like Hiroko.
yes,
like
yes, yes.
Miyako or something.
Yeah.
That go is the same Chinese character,
As cha.
and that's pronounced in Korean as cha.
Ah,
That's
I see. I
yeah,
see.
yeah.
Man, that's so fascinating.
Mhm.
Isn't this cool? I don't know. Again, for Korean Americans, just for me hearing this, there's so much history that we didn't realize or know. that I think Koreans take for granted and now don't care about. But Korean Americans would, we just want to know so much more about our history and our legacy that because we're not living in it, right?
Yeah. And so now, for the fun of it, I researched the SSA.gov, Social Security, of the top 5 names for births from 1924 to 2023. And let's go with 2023.
Okay. Yeah, just let's do the equivalent eras or decades that you did for Korea.
Can you guess what rank 1 is?
In America? Oh my gosh, I don't even know.
For a female. You can see more of a very clear trend in the US data.
Yeah.
Because like 5 consecutive years, like number 1 and 2 are the same. Both for male and female.
Interesting.
Yeah.
No, I don't even know what to guess. But I'm not going to be surprised when I hear it.
Number 1 is Olivia.
Yeah, okay, not surprised. Sophia, is Sophia up there?
Sophia is ranked number 5.
Okay, in 2023.
Yeah. Second rank is Emma.
Okay, yeah.
Followed by Charlotte.
Charlotte. Oh, Charlotte's number 3 in 2023? Wow. That one is surprising to me.
Rank 4 is Amelia.
Amelia, wow.
Amelia. And I think for a Korean, this is very fascinating because I feel like the Seoha, Ijun, and stuff like this, it almost sounds like this name didn't even exist 10 years ago almost, or very rare. Whereas if I see the trends in the US names, it feels like it has been there for hundreds of years. But it's like somehow
making a comeback.
Yeah.
I know there are cycles to this. Again, what was it? Olivia, Emma, Sophia, 1, 2, 5. Those all sound similar to me and are not surprising. But I'm surprised by Charlotte and what was the other one you said? Number 4?
Amelia.
Amelia. Those are both older sounding names. Again, I'll put them at like 1920s America. Yeah.
You know, the interesting thing is one of the comments for our reels for, when you said like Korean people outsource their name for someone else, there was like one person who mentioned that, oh, like you guys in the States, you say that it's a very individualistic or very personal thing that you name your child, but your names are also generic. Why aren't you guys being more creative with names?
I mean, they're...
Do you know there must be a reason?
There's a spectrum, Jun.
Yeah.
So for our kids, their American names, we had the spectrum of we don't want it to be too common, but we don't want it to be too crazy, right? Somewhere in the middle. That was at least our criteria. But it really comes down to, I think, your parents' personality and what you want your kids to grow up to be like. Yeah. I mean, I have my friends, I know one couple, they named their kid Zelda. Very like, I mean, in my mind, it's an awesome name, but it's also it stands out, right?
Yeah.
Zelda. So again, it just comes down to, I think, the parents' personality. Yeah.
When I think, who's that celebrity name?
Kanye?
No, not Kanye. Kanye's kid also had a crazy name, right? North.
Oh, Elon Musk?
Oh, that's like
their own thing, meme names.
But like, what's that famous female like actress married like the Coldplay guy?
Again, I'm so bad at pop culture.
The Coldplay guy is Chris Martin.
Oh, Gwyneth Paltrow.
Oh, Gwyneth Paltrow's kid's name was Apple.
Oh yeah.
Which I think a lot of American people made fun of.
Laughed at, yeah.
Anyways, we didn't cover male boy's name.
Oh yes, in 2023, what are the top 5 boys'
and
names?
This name was number 1, 7 consecutive years.
Jeez. Wait, let me guess.
It starts with an L.
Liam?
Yeah, Liam.
Yeah. Which I think sounds more British. It's making like a comeback. Yeah.
Number 2 is also number 2 for 7 years.
Jason?
Jason's not even there.
Kevin?
No,
these
Kevin.
were for my generation then, probably.
Yeah. It starts with an N.
Oh, Noah. Yo, let's go.
Noah also sounds British, right?
Definitely, it's like a biblical name too.
Yeah, Noah, Liam.
It does sound a little British, yeah.
Number 3 is Oliver.
Oh, I thought you were gonna give me the letter. Okay.
Oh, you want?
I would have not
Yeah.
guessed Oliver.
Oliver and Olivia, like these old names are kind of in trend, I guess. Rank 4 is James.
These
Oh,
are classic, yeah.
I think number 5 is somewhat unique. I don't know how to pronounce this. Elia?
Elijah.
Elijah? Do you
Is
pronounce
it?
a J?
Yeah, it's Elijah.
Elijah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow, that's number. These are all Christian, like a little bit older names. Yeah.
Okay, so let's go to 1984.
No, but I definitely get what you're saying when Koreans are like, your names are just
Yeah.
the same.
Yeah. You want to go to 1984?
Yeah. Or can you do 80s as a whole?
This is only, they only list it as year by year.
Okay. Let's do 84.
Okay, but I'll try to cover the entire 80s. Kind of.
Okay.
Okay. So number one number one for female name,
Yeah.
it's either Jennifer or Jessica.
Yes. In my small group of like 100 kids in my school, let's say half of them were girls, 6 of them were Jennifers.
Okay. And number 2 or 3 are
Yeah.
either Ashley,
Yeah.
Amanda,
Uh-huh.
or Brittany.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Not surprising.
And then it's like Sarah, Melissa.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Okay.
For guys,
Wait, don't tell me. Kevin has to be there.
oh, Kevin's not there for the entire decade.
Michael?
Yeah, Michael is number 1.
Yeah, I don't know.
And then number
Mike,
2
yeah.
was for 10 years, it was clearly Christopher.
Oh, Chris. Yes,
Yeah.
of course. Chris is very common.
And then Matthew,
Uh-huh.
Jason, Joshua, David, James. And your name only made it to 5th
Once.
in 1985 once.
Okay.
Yeah, Daniel.
Yeah, but again, these are obviously dominated by biblical names.
Mm-hmm.
What did you say? Michael, Christopher, David,
Joshua, Jason.
John,
Yeah.
Jonathan, Daniel. Yeah.
Mm.
Cool.
I also, okay, so
Wait, let's go. Are we going to do the 20s or? No,
20s?
you said 40s.
Oh,
the
the
40s.
we have it from 1924.
Let's do 40s. That would be
40s.
fun.
The 40s for female names are Mary,
Yes.
Linda,
Uh-huh.
Barbara,
Yes, Barbara.
Patricia,
Uh-huh.
Deborah,
Deborah.
Carol,
Mm-hmm.
Sandra, Susan.
Nice, yeah.
For guys, it was James
Yeah.
for 10 years straight, number 1, never
Jeez.
missed number 1.
Yeah.
And then number 2, never missed number 2. Oh, wait, it's so interesting.
Robert?
Yeah, number 2 is Robert.
Uh,
Number 3 is John,
yeah.
followed by William,
Mm.
sometimes Michael, and then Richard or David.
Yeah, very consistent.
Very consistent. It's like not much of a difference between
Yeah.
how Korean names have changed so much, right? Do you
I agree with you. Yeah.
what do you think is the reason? Why do you think like one of my theories is because
Our last names
your
are
last
so
names are so
different.
different. So you don't want to make too much of a crazy first name.
Yeah.
But also in my mind is like why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you want both unique last names and first names?
I think it's just because that's the culture, right? Like, because you grew up, you have this handful of like 100, right, names that are pretty common. It's just, I mean, that's just what you follow, right? Oh, what should we name? Like, what are we named? What are all our friends named? Let's just continue that forward. So you take that pool of like 100 common baby names or first names, and you just think, okay, like which ones do you want to give them? But yeah, I think I stand by your thinking, which is the last name is really more identifiable in the US typically, and so the first name, it's not as important to distinguish. But I mean, you could almost ask the same question in Korea. Why don't you just give them crazy names? Like, you can change your name to anything.
But is that too much? Like changing, like creating your own first name?
Yeah.
Anyways, but one other thing I think plays into this is that because your first names are so generic, I think there are a lot of different ways to call you. right?
Yeah, nicknames, exactly. They're right. Yeah.
Not necessarily nicknames, but also like short names.
Oh,
Because you said when I
yeah.
said Christopher, you said, oh, Chris, right?
Yeah.
Like Andrew could be an Andy or like a
Drew.
Drew, right? Jonathan is a John.
Yeah. Or the most random one, right?
What?
Like Richards are called Dicks. I don't know
Yeah,
why
I was
still,
want to get into that.
Yeah.
But before that, like the more common ones, like Elizabeth could be like Beth or Liz, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, the crazy ones is where like Williams are called Bills, or
Yeah.
Richards are called Dicks, and Jameses are called Jims, right?
Yeah, even that last one I didn't realize until like very recently that was a thing.
Yeah, what is with that?
I don't know.
Where do you think that comes from?
I'm sure if we looked it up, they all have their own origins. I do think it comes down to having nicknames in general or short forms of your name. I don't know what it is. It's almost like well, my name is Daniel, but my real friends call me Dan or DK. Like you have a thing, right? And I've never really thought about this.
Yeah.
I'm not as good at breaking down American culture like you are, Jun, with Korean culture, like on the fly.
Yeah.
There must be some reason why, but
I'm also I'm curious to learn how do you start that? Like, do you start it yourself, or do like your friends naturally start calling you that? Right? Because like, if you were born in Andrew and you somehow over the years became a Drew, like how does that start? Like, why are you not an Andy, and why are you a Drew?
Yeah, so I think it does come from your personal preference. It could originate anyway, right? You create it yourself.
Yeah.
Please call me X. Which is very individualistic, right?
Oh yeah.
But it could also start from your friends just give you this name and it sticks, and at first you hate it, but then you come to love it.
I see.
But I think the idea of having a shorthand name or a nickname or an insider name that only your real friends know or call you by, it's your sense of like, I think it's part of the individualistic mindset. Right? Like, yeah, I'm a Daniel. There's millions of Daniels, but I won't be called this way. And it's your way of kind of owning that name, if that makes sense. It's also a way to, like I said, I think in America, people can have very big social circles. So it's almost the way to filter like who your real friends are, right? Like, oh, you would only call me that if you really know me, or if you were introduced by a real friend who knows me. That's how they introduce, right? So I think, yeah, on the fly breaking it down, those are two reasons where I think it can come from. But it is true. Everyone has a nickname. And you rarely call your friends by their like proper name. You always have a nickname for them. So yeah.
Were you ever annoyed by the fact that they call you a certain way?
So I don't go by Danny ever. But people love calling me Danny.
Yeah.
And so I can't say it annoys me, but
they just say it. They just call you Danny.
Yeah, or Dan or whatever.
I think that culture is very fascinating for me.
Yeah.
Like, why would you call someone the way that you just want to?
Because they're trying to breed that closeness or familiarity. Like, I would almost say artificially.
Yeah.
But it's because so many Daniels go by Dan or Danny. There's like, hey Dan, hey Danny. And to be clear, Dan is pretty common. But none of here's the thing, Jun. From like I've had like 10 different nicknames I've used in my life. And when I hear one called out, I immediately know, oh, what context I know you from.
Oh,
Is
interesting.
it elementary, middle? Is it high school? Is it church? Is it college? Is it this social group, right? Is it that workplace? And because isn't that crazy? Like how you call me, I can place you in my life pretty easily. Is this nickname culture a thing in Korea?
It is a culture in Korea, and I think they can have a similar association, the way that you describe, by like hearing the way that you're called.
Yeah.
But a lot of the times it's not even referencing your name. It's just a random nickname.
Which happens in America too.
Yeah, the way that you look, or the things that you do, kind of. Sometimes it's related to your name, but
too.
Yeah.
Okay. But would you say out of your friends, do most of them just call you by your name, or do they have like a nickname or shorthand for you?
I am kind of unique in that I rarely had a nickname.
But do you think that's unique?
I think it's unique. I mean, I had a slight nickname, but it's referencing my full name, so I don't want to say it.
Okay.
But other than that, I have a very boring nickname.
Nickname?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I mean, Dan and Daniel or whatever, or DK. Those are not
See,
that.
this another thing is for me, when I meet you and I see your friends calling you, I think a lot of people call you either D Kim or Dan.
Yeah.
For me as a Korean, I don't know at which point
You switch over.
I switch over or like I feel like is this weird that I call you this kind
Yeah.
of like because I call so I just call you Daniel, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that's a very subtle line
Yeah.
that I don't like Korean people couldn't sense.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Again, I've never really thought about it. I do it too all the time. Like I'll just throw out random shorthand at people and just
Yeah.
see if it sticks.
Interesting. Because I don't know if that's rude or
Yeah.
that person might be offended,
Yeah.
you know?
I think it's the culture in America. It's just
Interesting.
so common. I will say specifically growing up in America, once you enter the workforce, not as much, right? But yeah, honestly, growing up, no one called me Daniel.
Have you been called D?
Yeah.
This is like one of the weirdest things like that I understand about Americans is
Yeah.
like how far would you go to shorten
Shorten the
someone's
name.
name?
100% have been called D.
That's so
Yeah.
interesting.
Wait, June, I have one more thing I want to add.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up when you know in school in the US,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a common tradition every year. You're introducing yourself to your class.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think the teacher goes down and does like roll call almost.
Mm-hmm.
I think the teacher will always ask you like, "Oh, how would you like to be called?" Or at least students have an opportunity to say, "Oh, I'm Daniel, but people call me this," right? And you can insert whatever you want there.
Yeah.
So I think this is baked in from a very young age. Whereas my understanding of Korean school is they don't even call you by your name. They call you by a number.
I mean, teachers do.
Yeah.
But friends don't.
No, I know, but teachers even,
Yeah.
right? You're just anyway. So this idea of being asked, oh, how do you want to be called? What's your nickname?
Yeah.
It starts basically basically from birth. You're asked, what do you want to be called? What's your nickname? How do you think about yourself? And because it's baked in, I think kids in America just always have to think about it. Whereas in Korea, I imagine it's not the case. Yeah.
I also wanted to ask about like what's the sentiment of calling you by your full name? Cause I see American media and I see like when you're in like middle school or high school or
Yeah.
elementary school,
Yeah.
you call them by your full name, almost like Daniel Kim.
Yeah.
No?
Only I've never been called my full name unless it's like I'm in trouble or something. I feel like.
So there's this episode in Friends
Yeah.
where I think one of the characters gets to meet this other person who they know from high school.
Yeah.
And like the comedy aspect of that is that person has still been working at the same like movie theater and still hanging out with their like high school friends
Yeah.
because that was like his like Hayden days or whatever. And like the very I think iconic moment that they describe is that this person keeps referring to other people with their full names.
Oh.
Like, have you met like Sarah whatever
Oh.
and blah blah blah.
That does not resonate with me.
Uh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's so interesting. No, you know the funny thing, I do know all my friends' last names too, but I would always just call them by their first name or a
Okay.
nickname. Yeah, I
Okay.
wouldn't call them by their full name.
But when you're like referring to some
Oh,
Someone?
interesting.
yeah.
Like, do you know blank blank?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, hey, do you remember this guy
Mike-
from
do you
high
s-
school?
Yeah. Do you
Like,
remember Michael Smith?
Yeah, like
blah
Mike.
blah
And then it'd be like, Mike who? They would always ask Mike who.
blah. I see.
Even that I can imagine for a career might be funny.
Mm.
Because like it's not like Mike what or like what's Mike's last name. It's like Mike who
Yeah.
for the last name, asking what's the last name. So
Because your first names are so.
common, yeah.
Speaking of first names being common, one thing I think is very unique, might be unique or fascinating to Koreans, is that there's like a junior and a third, right? You go to the extent of like,
Yeah.
you know, giving your first name to your child
Yeah.
and carrying on that first name
Yeah,
almost.
yeah,
I knew a friend whose name is Trey,
yeah.
but his first name is not Trey.
Oh,
The Trey refers to that he's a third.
something,
yeah.
something. The third.
But he's called
nickname was Trey.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I know also I know a friend who's I don't know if this it's their family thing. They're all of the male in their family
All of the same name.
have the same name.
That's just confusing.
Yeah, so they all have the same name,
Yeah.
but they are differentiated by their middle
Middle name.
names. Yeah, which is also very interesting.
I was going to bring that up. The
Yeah.
concept of a middle name, which is almost, it could be like the second character of your given name in Korea, right? But, you know, Jun, some people take this to an extent where my brother's kids, they couldn't decide on what name. Yeah, so they have two middle names. It's like American first name, American middle name, Korean name, middle name, and then last name. So their names are like 4 different names. It's really long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you can have 2 middle names?
I think you can have infinite names.
You can have infinite middle names when you register in the government?
You know, middle name, I don't know how official it is. And that's another thing too. Growing up, I thought it was so official. But since moving to Korea, they don't care about my middle name at all.
Because the concept doesn't exist.
But I also think I realized, like when they're matching passport or whatever at the airport, just so long as first name, last name matches, middle name doesn't matter. So middle name's almost like any extra meaningful name you want to give to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I will say, Jun, the very common practice for Korean Americans is, you know, give them an American first name and then anglicize their Korean name as their middle name. This is my case. And then put the last name. Yeah. And then, you know, that's very common practice.
Cool.
There's a trend too now in an attempt, I think, to be more, I guess, I don't know what the right word is. But anyway, a lot of couples now will concatenate the names and give that to their kid as their last name. So like husband last name dash wife last name or something like that. But, you know, again, as the generations go on, the names could get extraordinarily long if you continue.
I always thought that was confusing too, because some people do that in Korea too.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, but the way that they do it,
how can you have 2 last names in Korea?
it's unofficial, but they would call themselves as like Kim Bak Young-ho or something like that.
Yeah.
But the way that they do it is that when they carried it on to their next generation, they let them choose.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm down with that.
Okay. I also wanted to move on to talking about iconic or symbolic names.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Do you know what Honggil-dong
Yes.
means in
I mean,
Korean
that's
names?
just the John Smith. It's like your generic
It's their Jeon-do.
Jeon-do.
Yeah, but you know what Honggil-dong is?
We just talked about what it is.
Oh, but it's actually a character name from a very famous...
Robin Hood.
Yeah.
It's like Korean Robin Hood.
Yes.
I knew this. There was a K-drama I watched.
Oh, that's like it's like 20, 30 years ago, right?
Yeah.
So that's Jeon-do.
Okay.
Do you know what Cheolsu and Younghee is?
No, I no clue.
It's your like very typical boy and girl's name, which no one actually uses these days. But it's like Cheolsu and Younghee. It's almost like
Mary and John.
Yeah, Jack and
Jill.
Jill.
And Jill. Jun, you're better at these than I am. Yeah.
And I know one more iconic name that has been kind of trending in the US.
Yeah, what is it?
Can you guess?
No.
It's the Karen.
Oh, okay, I see. Yeah. What's the Korean Karen?
I don't think there's a Korean Karen.
Oh, there's no Korean version. Okay.
So can you explain to me what a Karen is?
Oh man, Jun, you're trying to get us canceled. Your typical Karen would be, I'd say, your 50s to 60s, so boomer, white lady who is very self-entitled and privileged and just kind of generally clueless.
Yeah.
Entirely self-absorbed, and in Korean terms has no nunchi. Yeah.
But to me, it was very fascinating because everyone suddenly, after they coined the name Karen, everyone had a consensus. Yeah, that is a Karen. Almost, right? So there must be some kind of image that is associated with that name. Right?
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know where it came from, but yeah, it's so fitting. Yeah, that's a Karen.
Isn't that so interesting?
Yeah, we talked about this briefly before, right? But Daniels in general in American culture, they're like the nice, kind of nerdy, quiet guy, right? And, you know, Dave's, let's say, they're just like cooler. So different names do have different associations.
Yeah, that's a perfect lead-in because I wanted to play a game. Because I saw in like TikTok or whatever.
Yeah.
Where like, I think it's an internationally married couple with Korean female and like an American male,
Okay.
husband, wife and husband. And the wife keeps throwing like American names.
Yeah.
And the husband would just like straight on say like what that name like means.
Okay,
kind
okay.
of like,
The association.
yeah. So I'm gonna play that with you.
Oh, okay, okay.
Jennifer.
It's like popular, bubbly. Yeah, cool.
Cool.
Well, maybe not cool. Yeah, but just nice and friendly. Yeah.
Melissa.
A little bit more party-ish. Yeah, but also cool and fun. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
More fun than Jennifer's.
Matthew.
Man, Matthews are, yeah, very straightforward. I'd say generally more, serious is not the right word. Professional. Yeah.
Nicole.
Maybe slightly less intelligent.
Okay.
More of a partier than the others.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, the last one is Kevin.
Oh, Kevin. I mean, that to me is a very generic. This one doesn't have many associations to me. But yeah, I would say just pretty generic, like the male Karen. Is that right? Actually, is Kevin the male Karen?
I don't know.
But just not in an associated way. Like they aren't self-entitled or whatever. But Kevin to me is just a very generic, boring guy name. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
How did I do compared to?
It was pretty similar. It's very fascinating.
It is really fascinating. Yeah, how this happens or why and how there's such a consensus around it.
I don't think there's a certain stigma like that for names in Korean though. I don't know. Maybe there is. Maybe there is. I don't know.
I don't know.
Okay. I think I've exhausted everything.
All the topics, yeah.
But I have like a few random topics that I couldn't fit into any of the themes. Do you want me to get
Of
into
course.
that? Okay.
Yeah.
This might be a thing that I think this is a thing that most Korean people also don't even know, but it's very fascinating. So I come from Daegu, right?
Yes.
And that's largely called the Gyeongsang-do region.
Yeah.
In Gyeongsang-do, there's a thing where parents or like your friends call you by the last character of your name.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. So
that sounds like a Gyeongsang-do thing to do.
So if you're a Jihun
Yeah,
in
you'd be Hoon.
Gyeongsang-do, your parents would call you Huna.
Huna.
Yeah. Or if you're like a Seongmin, they would call you Mina.
Mina.
Yeah. And it's
Not
so
Minnie, Mina.
Yeah, Mina. And it's so engraved in me too that when I call my cat,
Yeah.
so my cat's name is Gorongi.
So
And
you
I call it Ronga.
Ronga. It's hard for me to pronounce, but Ronga, yeah.
So that's a Gyeongsang-do thing.
That's cool. No, that's neat. Yeah.
Yeah. So most like Seoul people don't even know that this exists.
Yeah. First time I've heard this.
Other random thing about names is that there's a trend in naming your pets. I think I might have talked about this in our pet episode. In Korea, that there's a belief that if you name your pet's name by a food, they would live longer.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
So I see a lot of dogs names, especially that's called hodu, which is walnut,
Yeah, that's so common. Yeah.
or tubu when it's white.
Yeah.
Tubu is tofu, and then pori, which is like barley. Yeah.
My cousin's dog was named Mango.
Mango, yeah. That's cute.
I was like, now I realize. Maybe that's why she named it after a fruit. Yeah.
One very random thing. I had a roommate who's from Hong Kong, and the way that I don't know if it's like a Hong Kong or Chinese thing or their family thing.
Yeah.
But when we were talking about the Hangyar thing, right, like their generation name, their generation name is so cool.
Oh yeah.
In that, by their generation, if you list out their name,
Yeah.
he described it as that it becomes a poem.
Wow.
It's like a story.
Yeah.
It's like a narrative of something.
I
Isn't
will
that
say
so cool?
that is really cool.
Yeah.
And I think Chinese names in general, they take it to the next level.
Yeah.
They always have to have 4 or 5 layers of meanings or, triple meanings
Yeah.
or just like to me it's always cool because there's not just like one simple meaning. There's always layers to what it means and how they arrived at it. So yeah, I think compared to Americans and Koreans, their naming is definitely next level. Yeah.
And also, I wanted to ask, is there are there certain last names that are not Korean that if you just if you hear their last name, you would kind of can guess their origin?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's a typical Russian origin name?
This I'm bad at this, but it's very obvious to people who know this.
What about Italian?
I mean, sorry, Russian is like I don't know, I'm thinking like Dostoevsky or something, right? Like, isn't that a Russian author?
If you have a ski there, it's too obvious.
Sergey is a common like Russian first name too, right? So, yeah.
Vladimir,
yeah. Yeah.
French. I'm just throwing you these because I think Korean people might find this interesting.
That Americans can do this pretty easily.
Yeah.
Again, I am I think below average in America, or at least if you live on the coasts for ability to do this. But French, I'm embarrassed, Jun. I should be much better at this.
I know I have a friend who has like Von something, and that I think
that's Dutch.
Yeah.
Yeah, Von Dutch. Even is a famous brand, I think.
Yeah. Von Dutch has Dutch in their last name.
Anyway, I think because I worked in a very multicultural setting, it's like even down to various Eastern European countries, like that name sounds like Serbian, or that name sounds like Romanian. Like, I think I could place names pretty well. Yeah. But I never thought about that, how that Koreans would have a much harder time.
I don't think they have a clue.
Well, they're celebrities. Of course, you would know some celebrities.
But they won't think about like the origins.
Oh, really? I see. Yeah.
They would. They would know very well the luxury brand. Gucci.
Yeah. Obviously, Jun, then, are there regional variations with names in Korea? Like,
no, but I think
no,
not really.
Really? Okay.
But I think you can kind of hear North Korean names.
I see. Yeah.
And kind of get a sense that it sounds North
a little
Korean.
Bit different.
Yeah, because they're especially their male names are very strong. Like they always have like chol in it, or like
so that means nothing to me, but to you,
yeah. I don't know.
That's cool. Yeah.
Kang, or like these like very like strong sounding names. Yeah.
Anything we miss with names? I wish I should have prepared more, but thank you for doing all the prep.
One more thing. Maybe this is not that interesting, but I heard that a lot of last names, American last names, if you track back the very origins of it, it explains what they did as a job.
Yes, profession. Right?
Like Smith is a blacksmith.
Blacksmith, yeah.
And like baker.
Tanner.
Yeah. And also what's interesting is that sometimes it describes the genealogy.
Yes, like Johnson is John's son. Yeah.
I think it's kind of interesting. Yeah.
See, I thought that was cool. That's just why I think the Korean jokpo, or like history and genealogy, is cool too.
Cool.
Okay. Well, should we wrap?
Yeah, I think.
Names. Certainly there are names in Korea that are taboo, right? Because the words are bad or whatever. But a Korean would never name their son like Kim Jong-un or anything, right? It would just be too bad.
You know, there was a very famous actress called Kim Jong-un.
Oh, there was?
Yeah, she was actually like A-list before like Kim Jong-un ever actually
rose to power.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. But no one would ever. It'd just be like naming your kid after a known bad person in the world.
I don't think they would.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense.
But I mean, there's something interesting about names in Korean. Is number one, if your name becomes the same name as someone who's infamous,
you might change it.
Also, it's because, again, goes back to the shamanism thing, but your name, Korean people tend to believe that your name is very associated with your fate. So it's not uncommon that you change your name, like legally. Like in the middle of your
So
life.
you're saying it's not that uncommon.
It's not that uncommon.
Interesting.
I know a lot of friends who change their names. There's also a concept of your household name. And I think this is
You've
my
mentioned this
parents'
before.
generation thing where there's a name, like there's your legal name, but there's like a name that you call in your household. Like my aunts have very different names that they're called within the house versus what their legal name is.
And is it like it's a nickname? Or is it like that thing you take the second character and add ra to it?
It's a totally different name.
Oh.
And I think, especially for females, it has to do a lot about like, because you want your next child to be a son.
Oh.
So you go to like a mudang,
Yeah.
and they would ask like, how would I get a son for my next child? And they would sometimes say like, you should call your last daughter this or whatever.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy
Yeah.
to me.
And they actually sometimes they go to the extent of actually making that to their legal name.
Yeah.
Like a 말순
Yeah.
is a common that kind of name.
That kind of name. You
'Cause-
change your daughter's name
Or like you name your daughter's name.
in order to get a son next.
Yeah. Because this happens a lot in like like old K dramas, but like if you have like 3 consecutive daughters,
Yeah.
but you're like so eager to get a son,
Yeah.
you would name your third daughter like a 말순이,
Yeah.
which
So when you
means
hear
that your
name.
말순 literally means a last daughter.
Okay.
Yeah, so your last female or something. That's a thing in Korean names.
Yeah.
And there's also a thing called taemyeong.
Yes. Yeah. I called it in vitro in a previous episode. I had to edit it.
Yeah.
In utero.
Yeah, yeah.
Name.
And the reason why you have a taemyeong is because I think, again, it ties back to like your sachu, like your fortune telling.
Yeah.
Because the date and time in which you're born has to be considered in naming your child's
Yeah,
name.
yeah,
So
yeah.
you can't actually legally name something before they're born. So they always have a nickname,
Yeah.
and that's called a taemyeong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the point you're making is there's still a lot of mysticism when it comes to names a bit in Korea.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say this like preference for sons over daughters in the previous generation.
Yeah.
I feel like it's done a complete 180 in this generation.
Oh,
Where a lot of people are like, I just want daughters.
see, this is a thing that I think is kind of going to a dangerous territory. I think some people find it so proud
Yeah.
that they prefer a daughter now,
Yeah.
that they don't think that they're doing something completely opposite
Yeah.
and could be offensive.
Yeah.
And to the point where on public television, like people would actually cry if they know that
Have a son.
they have a son.
Yeah.
Well, like it's so
too far extreme the other way. Yeah.
And they're so proud of saying like, I want a daughter, right?
I understand it's a reaction to how flipped it was in a bad way too before. And hopefully, overcorrect and we'll end up somewhere in the middle where everyone's happy with either gender.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just have to bring it up because I think before in the older generation, it was so ingrained that they want sons over daughters. And now again, it's maybe gone too far the other way, but it's flipped for sure.
Yeah.
But it really, Jun, it's so crazy. Like, this is side commentary, but I met this older achuma, and she was like, "Oh, you have like 4 kids, blah blah blah." The entire time, she only cared to ask about our son. Literally, I was like, "Oh," like she was like, "Oh yeah, daughters, whatever." Like, tell me more about your son. And when she was talking about her own kids, she only talked about her son. And when she was talking to me, she only talked to me. She didn't care about my wife as much.
Wow.
Like, it's so extreme to the point of, for me, it's very uncomfortable. Like, why do you only care about one gender? Anyway.
Yeah. Again, I feel like I want it to be more balanced, right?
Yeah.
I think either side is not good. And I want modern Korean people to understand that saying I want a daughter is equally toxic.
As how it was before,
yeah.
where they only cared about sons. Yeah.
And I think it also is related to the utilitarian thinking.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of big reason why parents prefer daughters these days is because I don't know if this is a fact or a stigma, but they say that it's easier to raise a daughter than a son.
It's different.
Yeah.
In my experience, and again, my kids are not that old. They for sure they are different to raise. The most common reason amongst I think me and my peer group is that in their, let's say, after they leave the house, the common thinking is daughters hang around more and are still more involved in their family's life, whereas sons are just like, I'm gone, see ya. Like, good luck seeing me in the next 20 years. And so it's more about that wanting to maintain a close relationship over time.
I see.
There's this preconceived notion that daughters are better at that. I have to kind of injunct that a little bit. Jun, in my 20s, literally for a decade, I probably talked to my parents like 3 times a year.
Oh, really?
For 5 minutes each on the phone.
Oh, wow.
And
That's
I don't think I was an outlier. I think a lot of sons just don't contact their parents much. And then of course once maybe if you have kids or whatever it could change. But I'm like, I really never talked to my parents.
Oh, wow, interesting.
Yeah, anyway. Okay. I think that's it. There are things we have talked about before with name that I don't think we need to bring up again. I don't know if we just want to touch on it just to touch on them. But how, Korean women don't change their last name, for example, after getting married. Whereas in America, this used to be very, very common practice. I think it still is, but it is changing, which I think is a good trend. Anyway, okay. Yeah, let's wrap up there.
All right.
So, yeah, thanks for listening to our episode on names. And again, thank you one last time to our Patreon who suggested this topic.
Oh, we have to shout out to our Patreons.
Our patron who suggested this topic. Yes, let's do a Patreon update. All right, so since our last shout out, thank you to our new patrons or people who updated their subscription. First, 사랑해 지원아.
사랑해 지원아. Thank you.
Thank you. I was going to try to make a corny joke. Okay, thank you to Mia.
Thank you, Mia.
And for the upgrade. Thank you to Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you to Mari. And thank you to Becky, who updated their membership as well.
Thank you, Becky.
Yeah, so thank you very much. Again, if you think this episode was worth... Oh, you shouted out at the beginning.
Yeah, well, let's do it again.
Yeah, if you think this episode is worth 25 cents, please consider supporting us for the minimum subscription of $1 a month on Patreon, which will get you access to our exclusive Discord, where you too can suggest topics for future episodes.
Yes.
Again, thank you for your support. Like, comment, subscribe. It means the world to us and really keeps us motivated to keep doing this podcast. So thank you.
All right.
See you next week. Bye.
But what about last names, though? What's an Italian last name?
I don't know. Again, you're asking the wrong person. I'm gonna look up Fibonacci.
Fibonacci is a famous mathematician.
I know, but that's like what an Italian last name sounds? Yes, Italian mathematician.
Yeah.